was cue for me to start. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa tamma taslim ala Sayyid al-Mursaleen Habibina wa Tabib qulubina wa qurrati a'yunina Sayyidina Muhammad ibn Abdullah wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa tabi'in wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsan ila yawm al-din. Allahumma ij'alna ma'ahum ya Rabbil Alameen. We begin in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, most beneficent, the most merciful. And we beseech Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the ability to live the life of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to give us the ability to understand the reality of this life and thereby navigate through the plains of this life successfully, attaining His, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's pleasure. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us His consciousness at all times, regardless of our circumstances. And we beseech Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to send the choice of blessings and salutations upon the beloved Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his followers and all those who choose to follow the path of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam till the day of judgment. And finally, we beseech Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the ability to follow in that path and make us amongst them. Ameen Rabbil Alameen. So again, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam.
So the topic today, interesting topic for, it's more of a youth-focused topic, and I am going to ask questions, so hopefully we can interact and get somewhere. Hopefully it'll be beneficial for myself and for all of you. So the topic is how to use technology in a positive way. So let me ask you, what do you think of when you hear the word technology? What's the first word that comes to your mind?
A gadget.
A gadget, right? And that's what usually we millennials, or I think everybody, regardless, we kind of identify technology as a gadget, and specifically an electrical gadget specifically, right? So it's like a phone or a tablet, a computer, when in reality, by definition, technology is a practical application of the sciences, right? Any practical application of science, it then results in technology. Specifically, it's used in the Industrial Revolution, right? So that's what really brought about the technological revolution. So by definition, anything that you do to progress, anything that you do to better yourself and take to the next step, that may be considered a technological advancement. So, back in the days, you read about this caveman. Allah knows how much water that holds. But this caveman, he discovered what? Fire, right? And then you read about the Roman, who gave man fire, and therefore he was cursed by the gods? No, only me? No? Okay, off topic. Go back. Let's go back to our topic. So when man found fire, that was a technological advancement. That is technology. When man found fire. Same when, the Stone Age came around, right? We learned how to use stones. At least that's what they say. So all of these are technological advancements. Then later on, we learned about the domestication of animals. We learned how to use animals, to sow the land and prepare the land and so forth for cultivation. Then came the age of iron, and we learned how to use iron and metal and so forth. So the misunderstanding is usually we attribute technology to what? Only gadgets. When in reality, technology is anything that is an application of science and that amplifies your practical life, right? So we talked about specifically in industry. So before I start talking about the practical ways that me and you can use technology, there's a saying, بِضِدِّهَا تُعْرَفُ الْأَشْيَاء. In Arabic, they say, through opposites can you come to know the reality of an object. When you learn the opposite. So you know what it is, but then you learn what the opposite is, and therefore now you're able to appreciate it to a greater level. So I'll play devil's advocate. Right? So I'm going to go both sides. I'm going to talk about the pros of technology, but also right now I'm going to start off by talking about the negative effects of technology. So my main focus points are going to be mainly social media, games, TV, and internet. That's going to be my focus point. Now, we're on the same page? Okay. The premise that I'm going to set for this discussion is a famous hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, and that's what I want you to hold on to. And I want you to question yourself as to why the Prophet ﷺ said what he said. What did he say? There's a famous hadith the Prophet said, there will be 7 categories of people who will be shaded under the rahmah and mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment, when there will be no la dhilla illa dhillu. There will be no other shade or mercy beside the shade of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then the Prophet, he categorized 7 different types of people, men and women. One is shabun nasha fi ibadatillah. It's a young man or a young woman who spends their youth. What's the word? Youth. They spend their youth, their adolescent years, right, in the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, we are talking about pros and cons of technology, but the premise that I'm setting is what? Is this hadith. And I want us to revolve around this hadith. So the Prophet says that a young person, be it a boy or a girl, growing up in Santa Barbara or San Jose or Sacramento, no matter wherever it is, or Karachi or Mogadishu, wherever you are, right? A young person, regardless of where they grow up, a young person who spends their youth in worship, meaning with Allah, with love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he or she will be amongst those people. May Allah make us amongst them. Ameen. My question is, why would the Prophet ﷺ specifically say the young person? Because after your adolescent years, what comes around? You're 18, you could drive. You're 21, you could drink. Well, I mean, legally, right? And you can drink Ruh Afza in Ramadan also, right? My point is, what happens after adolescent years? Nobody? You guys are all below adolescent years? Don't look like it. Adulthood. So my question was, when I read this hadith, or when my teachers told us, the question that I was very intrigued by is, why did the Prophet specifically say adolescent years? Why? There has to be, because, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, ما ينطق عن الهوى إن هو إلا وحي يوحى. He doesn't speak out of his just own whims and desire. What he says carries value, right? Sometimes something is right under your nose and we don't realize it. The other day, I'm involved with this South Asian health movement to bring awareness about, specifically about diabetes. From Emory University has started this initiative. So on their board, and we're talking about this, and they asked me to do a presentation about diet from the Islamic perspective. And we're talking about, there is a narration, although maybe weak, but there's a narration that suggests that the Prophet, he said that do not over consume meat as it leads to the hardening of the heart. Now, if you're a medical student, that makes a lot of sense to you. I always looked at it as, because they say you are what you eat, the animalistic. But this doctor who was from the Hindu faith, she looked at me and she said, Imam, that's what the Prophet said? And I said, yeah. Why? You look very intrigued by this. And she said, that's amazing. Because we know today as a fact that overconsumption of meat is a major factor in clogging the arteries. And that's a physical affirmation of what he said. It does harden the heart. Right? So my question is, just because me and you don't see the beauty does not negate the beauty. Because you have to have the eyes to see the beauty. You get my point? Just because you look at it and say, oh man, that's not a nice looking car. Well, I like it. Well, because beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. Right? So when you love Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you learn about his life, then you'll see the value behind what he says. What are the secrets behind what he said? So I was very intrigued by, why would the Prophet specifically single out the young person? Because after their adolescent years, they have to eventually step into adulthood. What about the mistakes they make in the adult life? Is that omitted? So that's why I started reading about the brain's development. How does the brain develop? So you guys understood my premise, right? Why did the Prophet specifically say young person? Because we know after adolescent years, you're going to eventually step into adult life. That's what intrigued me, right? So I started reading about the human brain and how it develops. Now, in our body, there is the brain specifically. It grows back to front, right? It doesn't grow front to back. Your prefrontal cortex, which is your control center of the brain, right? Your prefrontal cortex, which is right here, right here. That's your control center, okay? Now look at it this way. If your brain is growing from the back to the front, do you have your control center from the very beginning, get-go? No, right? So you don't mind if I insult you in a nice way, do you? It's fine. Can I insult you in a nice way? You don't try to bash me up afterwards, right? You're a tall guy. I saw you walking in. How old are you?
14.
You're 14. So if I say, man, you got no brains, bruh. What's up with you? You ain't got no brains. Actually, what I'm saying is actually pretty right, because your brain hasn't fully developed. Because the brain comes to a mature state and stops kind of it kind of reaches its pinnacle of development when you're around mid-20s. So 25, 26, that's when it kind of reaches. And that's when a person really now is in their adult life, right? You've kind of come to a shore when it comes to your studies, right? You're thinking about, a good paying job, family, you're going to step into. And when you don't have a control center, you make dumb mistakes. Thus, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, "Ash-shabab shurbatun min al-junun," right? That youth, it's like a frenzy. It's like this, you're on you're on sugar pills, right? Hopefully no other pills, right? You're on sugar pills. You're just excited, right? You just came from Jamba Juice and had a energy shot or something. Allah knows best. Or 5-hour energy from the local gas station. You just running and bouncing off walls, right? So it's pretty amazing, right? And the reason is because we don't have a control center, right? So Huzaifa, as of now, he doesn't have a control center. He's, how old are you now?
Like 7.
You're like 7? So is there another option? Like 8 maybe? He's 7, alhamdulillah. So our brains are developing, right? So now it started to make sense to me why the Prophet ﷺ said a young person. Are you guys connecting dots? Right? Because right now, study proves that the habits that me and you inculcate and adopt in our youth, especially middle school, high school years, and then early college years, the habits that me and you kind of get accustomed to after school instead of studying, because, I know final exams are 3 months away, but I'll spend the whole night on Assassin's Creed, right? Or fantasy football, right? Doing that, those are habits. I know people who are grown and married, and their wives will come, and they're grown men, right? And their wife will come and say, "Ma'am, my husband, when he comes from work, the first thing he does is he grabs his Xbox 360 and he's online, gaming people until like 12, 1 o'clock at night." Now, why do you think he has that habit?
Because he did that when he was in his youth years.
So he was doing that while his brain was developing. So it's basically like laying bricks. That's what literally you're doing in your young years. You're laying bricks. And you have the ability to use the cement and bricks and curve it, make it slanted, or give it a firm foundation. So you can, yes.
I'm just going to say also that not only because I've taught middle school, high school, college, but the research also shows now that before people used to think that where you went to college determined how well you did in life. Then it became where you went to high school. But more and more, it's not even just where you went to middle school. It also starts with almost like prenatal development.
Yes.
Like they're doing things now to educate parents when the child is still in the womb to prepare them.
Yes.
What I'm saying is that for these guys, like middle, high school, okay, if they're out of that college, but every step of the way, if you don't give it your commitment, then you are set up for failure for the next round.
That's exactly what it
prepare
is.
you for high school. High school has to prepare you for college.
Yes.
But at one point, as the brother said yesterday with an analogy, like you have this ice in your hand that's melting very quickly. Yep. So you just, as you said, you have to kind of you have to make a change.
That's what it is, because life is different, the stages. The Quran talks about life, different stages. So first is lahu wa la'ib. And this is beautiful what you're saying. That's what the Quran talks about. that first you're in this state of just playing, and it's usually without a purpose. And then you go into la'ib, then you are trying to have fun, but there's some sort of purpose beyond it. And then you move on, and then it comes self-image, right? Tafakhurun baynakum, right? There's this competition of, hey man, you got the newest Jordans? Do you have the new Jordans? Right? This, you got that tee that came out of Foot Locker. Did you go buy? Right? You got Drake's new album. You know how to step like Salento. You guys know what Salento is? See, shame on you guys. Astaghfirullah. Astaghfirullah. How dare you? In the masjid of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Salento. You should be silent. Salento. If you listen to Salento, you've wasted 5 minutes of your precious life. Sorry to say that, right? So, competition, and then you go into an adult life. But what he's saying is basically what it is. You're laying bricks, and how well you lay the foundations as a young child, And it starts from what he's saying, prenatal. So it starts from very, very young age, right? But my challenge to you is, whatever age you're in right now, you still have the ball in your court. Okay, there are people that are beyond that 25, mid-20s, and I look at them and Allah protect all of us, but there are people that can't get a grip of their life. They will try rehab, they'll try everything, but they can't get a grip in their life. And when you sit down and talk to them, you see that the foundations were laid wrong. And once the foundations are laid wrong, hey, I'm sorry, there's so much you can do to correct it now, right? That's why it's very, very important. And that's what the Prophet, he said, on the Day of Judgment, there will be questions that a person cannot move until they answer. And one of the question is, you will be asked about your youth, fima afna, and how did you spend your youth, right? And thus, the Prophet said that the person who spends their youth with love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they will be in the shade and amongst those people. So now, let's look at statistics. So there is AC Nielsen Company. They did a poll where, first of all, when it comes to TV, let's talk about TV first. I call it the plug-in drug, right? The plug-in drug. A group of children, young children, they were surveyed, and they were given the choice of spending time, and we're talking about now, we're laying foundations. And my challenge to you and myself, while we're going over this, question yourself, do I fit into this? And that's what we need to change. Life is about change. Be a man about it, right? Be a true woman about it. Change, bring change. That's what Muslims do. Muslims are not followers. No, you only follow Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Besides that, you are movers. You're game changers, right? You have to know that, right? So to follow Drake on his Instagram is the dumbest thing you could do. First of all, Drake don't want to know you, and don't come and tell me, hey man, Drake told some sister to remove her hijab while in the concert. What was she doing in the concert in the first place?
That may not have been about a Muslim sister.
That may not have been a Muslim sister? So there you go. So I'll move on then. Jazakumullah khair. That's good. Right? So there was another, I remember a meme came out of Bieber and another girl in hijab. But my question is, see if we fit into these roles. And if we do, let's try to bring some change. So you have these young kids, they're surveyed, either they spend time with their father or they spend time with TV. 54% chose to spend time with TV. That's scary. And this is a few years back. Okay? Now I believe 70% of youngsters have a TV in their in the US have a TV in their room. Right? That's their parent. And studies show that, and like I said, it's you as us as children, but there's also it's a two-sided coin. The parents play a role. Studies show that an average American parent spends 3.5 minutes of solid conversation with their child per day. No, per week. 3.5 minutes. 3.5 minutes. Like father to son talk, father to daughter, mom to son talk. 3.5 minutes. Right? So it is and that's something that we need to talk to parents about, because that's definitely a challenge. Now, as the brain is developing, it's wiring itself. and sometimes based on what we do externally, it rewires itself from the norm and takes a detour, right? So the brain is, the Prophet, he said that you are born on the natural disposition to love Allah. You are born in the natural disposition to love the Prophet, to love Islam. But all these artificial and arbitrary parents that we have, our physical parents, our biological parents, our school parents, our friend who are parents, what it means is people that affect your mindset, people that affect your outlook in life. These are your parents, right? And I'm using the literal word in the Quran. Allah uses the word Rabb, right? Rabb means that who helps you nurture yourself, right? So when it comes to now moving on to social media, TV is there, and all of them, there's an addiction. And this addiction is very, very dangerous. So how do you define an addiction? It's a physical or mental what? Dependency. It's a physical or mental dependency without which you can't function, and then there's adverse effects. Right? So I'll give you an example. I have a distant relative who was a heavy chain smoker. And alhamdulillah, he realized it was very difficult for him and causing a lot of trouble, this and this. So he decided to stop. Now he's well in his 60s, and he stopped. In that week, he had major fights with his wife. Just because he stopped smoking. He was arguing with his wife. They were arguing at home. The children are, they don't want to be at home. He gained weight. Right? He gained weight. And he started becoming a very unpleasant person in his family. People could not function with him because he was grumpy and edgy all the time. Why? Because of addiction. He was addicted to cigarettes. And without it, he can't live a normal life. There's always an adverse effect. There's always a negative effect. So when it comes to social media, yes, we can get addicted. And we do get addicted, right? So brain scans of people that are addicted to screens, whether it's social media or anything like that, brain scans of people who are addicted to technology, as how we define it, brain scans of people that are addicted to screens and phones and tablets, they show similar impairment. This is amazing. They show similar impairment and damage as those who actually have drug addictions, right? So people that are addicted to TV and laptops and phones, right? Your and mine, our brain will suffer the same similar damage, right, as people that are actually on that stuff, right? Which is very scary. And also, they talk about there is a clear degradation of white matter in regions of your brain that control information processing, attention, and decision making, which again goes back to your prefrontal cortex, as that is the control center. So this white matter is very vital to the development of the brain. And when we spend our time in nonsense and have all these weird addictions to playing games and all these things, what happens is we're actually now degrading a lot of this white matter and how it should process and develop. So my brain doesn't develop properly. So if somebody says, I mean, you a dummy. Hey, I kind of fit that profile because I took some of those steps in life to be a dummy. Because you need that. I mean, information processing, don't you think that's important? I think you're going to need that, right? Sitting in algebra. Man, I don't understand this. The other day I was talking to somebody, and these, the youngsters, and I said, isn't it amazing? First of all, algebra is founded by a Muslim, and the algorithms, which now comes afterwards, everything which all the technology is based on, is based on Muslim discoveries. And there's a few beautiful books to read on that. But it's amazing that all these sciences, especially when you talk about the trivium and the quadrivium, these math and other sciences. Can you attend a calculus class or pre-cal or trigonometry without a TI-84 Graphic Plus? You know what that is? TI-84 Graphic Plus is a graphing calculator. Can you attend class without that? No. Which is strange, right? And I'm like,
in India you can.
in India you can. That's
I
what's
definitely
up.
did not have a calculator in high school.
Well, that's what's up. That's where you are right now. Alhamdulillah, take you further in life. I mean, but so now, what do you see? It's impairing yourself. So ease does not necessarily mean advancement, right? It's not ease does not it's not synonymous to advancement necessarily, right? So when you look at like all these classes and subjects, these were the same subjects that were developed only by the human mind, right? Because there was proactive cognitive use of the brain, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about these different levels of brain cognitive behaviors in the Quran. First, Allah talks about tadabbur, right? Tadabbur, you contemplate. Tafakkur, you contemplate and you think, right? That leads to aql, which is intellect. When a person becomes an intellectual, right, they know how to think. As a man, you know how to think. As a woman, you know how to think. You know how to make positive decisions, progressive decisions in your life. And after you become an intellectual, then Allah talks about this ulul absar, people with foresight. That's the whole. I mean, Muslims today, we don't even know how to make tadabbur, tafakkur. We don't even know how to contemplate. Forget intellect. We wouldn't be in the hole that we are in if we knew how to use our intellect. So we're not even at that level as a community, right? But why am I throwing this at you? Because you hold the keys to the future. The most vital point, the pulse of a nation, the pulse of an ideology and identity is the youth, right? And that's why I say, a lot of you, don't ever belittle yourself. Only crazy people can change the world. You know that? Seriously. Because it's the crazy people, they were crazy enough to think they can make a change. And you can. Right? And when it comes to making a change, there is no racial profiling. You see, greatness is not racist. Or else, Mahatma Gandhi, he's not the most handsome fella in the world, okay? You guys ever seen him? He's not a model, a male model, okay? For some people, maybe whatever floats your boat, but I'm just saying. Mahatma Gandhi isn't the most attractive guy out there, right? And he's definitely not Mr. Olympia either, right? He's very skinny and scrawny, and he didn't have nice glasses like me either, right? He wasn't lit, right?
He didn't buy his glasses from Warby Parker like you did.
Well, these are from Zenny, by the way. So greatness doesn't differentiate. You just have to have what? Determination. You have to have intellect. And when you have intellect and you think and use, Allah Malcolm X, rahimahullah, may Allah have mercy on his soul. Martin Luther King, they didn't have very fair skin. No. Mother Teresa wasn't a man, right? It just depends on what you're willing to give. Regardless of even religious affiliation. Allah will give greatness to those who strive, right? But ultimate success is for the believer. That's the difference. But greatness will be given to those who strive. Now imagine if you strive and you are a believer. So that's going back to our addiction to technology. It can really degrade the process of the white matter developing in the regions of the brain that deal with information processing. Now that's very important. I mean, sometimes you're talking to people and they're like, I don't know what you mean, man. Like my teacher says nowadays, it's common. We live in a time where common sense has become uncommon, right? People don't have no common sense no more, right? So because of social media, another thing that we see is that you get immediate rewards. When you're in social media, there's immediate gratification, immediate happiness with very little to no effort at all, right? So you're doing you just click a button, you're like, oh man, that's really nice. Click a button, oh, that's really nice. Click a button, oh, this is amazing. And now your brain is releasing this dopamine, right? What's called the happy substance in your brain, right? So now you're feeling very happy. So now your brain starts rewiring itself. Okay, every time I'm on Facebook and I'm checking out what Khadija is doing, by the way, you're not supposed to be checking out what Khadija is doing. Okay? And Khadija is checking out what Khalid is doing, right? You're not supposed to be doing that either. Okay? So, you start, what was I saying before this?
Khadija and Khalid.
Before?
The dopamine.
The dopamine. What is the dopamine? It's the happy substance that your brain releases to feel happy. So you're checking people out and you're doing this and you start feeling happy, right? So now you develop this addiction because your brain now rewires itself that every time I use Facebook, every time I'm on Twitter or on Tinder, and Allah knows what's out there nowadays, okay? Every time I do this, I feel happy. I give self-worth and self-meaning, right? So now what happens, it becomes a cycle. And if you think about it, that sounds exactly like a drug. That's just what a drug is, right? I don't know if you guys ever been to a drug rehab. You should go sometime, somebody take, you will see the reality. These people can't live without, right? On an average day, a young person, you know how many times they touch their phone? At least 150 times. What if you held your mother's hand 150 times a day? How happy would that mom be? What if you held your father's hand 150 times a day? The father who bought you that phone, by the way. That was a mistake, right? What if you held his hand? What if you held the hand of your brother? That's another thing, we hang with our friends. I'll hang with Mike and David and Muhammad and Khalid, but my own biological brother, I won't hang with him, right? There's a book written by a mother, The Winter of Our Disconnect, and she talks about this plug-in drug. She wrote a whole book. When she realized that she's sleeping with her phone, her children are sleeping with their phone, everybody's sleeping with their phone. They're at the dinner table, but they're not really there. They're not really present. So if you look at how social media, Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp, how it stimulates your brain and how happy you are, it kind of resembles a drug, right? Another problem is everything that you do on social media is make-believe. Because what you're doing on social media, what I do on social media is I post what? The happy moments of your life. So you develop this personality where you start hiding reality. And you become this fake person. Because, not every day is happy. I'll tell you that. Not every day is happy. Okay? Not every day is sunny like this. There are days it rains and sometimes it pours and sometimes there's a thunderstorm. Right? But, hey, I'm at IHOP. Look at this. Or, hey, I'm here. Look at this. Or I'm at this, we're always posting the happy moments in our lives. Right? So it's a very unrealistic approach to what we look at life. And we only look at the happy moments. And it again goes back to these happy moments. They stimulate our psychological happiness. Another thing that it does is we start expressing happiness through a keyboard or a screen, and we become a bit of mute when it comes to expressing our happiness verbally. And thus, nowadays, we have this gap where children, we can't tell our mom, hey, I really love you, mom. Man, I'm going, man. I can't tell my mom I love her. Come on, bro. What you mean you can't tell your mom you love her, you fool? You can tell Samantha you like her. You can't tell your mother who put her life on the line? Right? No. So that phone that we hold 150 times a day at least, or all those people we like. Did I ever go to my mom and say, I really liked your food? Mom, I really loved your food. We take it for granted. But over there, this guy is eating at Outback Steakhouse. The lamb chops are halal because they imported from New Zealand. Hey, I like it. What about your mom? What about my mom? Do I tell her I like this? Right? So it really disconnects us from the people that matter the most. Imagine if you hugged your mom every single day. If I hugged my mom every single day and kissed her and said, I love you for what you do. I'm your biggest fan. Right? How happy would they be? So it's very important. Even friendship, right? Sometimes I just see two guys walking down, and they're both on their phones, and they're best friends. And you're walking down. Yeah, what's up, man? Yeah. And you're just walking around. Like two bunch of zombies, right? And that's what's happening. That's what's happening. There's a book, it's called Future Crimes. Quite a big book. It talks about AI and artificial intelligence and how it will develop. Man, that book is scary. It's like reading a horror film, right? there's possibility of the advancement of AI. By 260, the humans could become obsolete. Our own existence. That's scary stuff. So when you saw Will Smith in iRobot, if you saw it, by the way,
Yeah.
but that's some scary stuff. I'm not advocating movies here, Imam. Right? So see, in 2001, Gallup, they did a survey. The average American had about 10 friends. 2001. Some of you weren't in the picture back then. Now you are. 2001. Last year, they did the same survey, and the average American has 2 friends. Can you imagine that? And a few years down the line, there's not going to be any average Americans. Forget having friends. Okay? There's going to be a bunch of phone zombies. Okay? And then another problem is that we start giving value to ourselves through how many followers we have on Twitter. Hey, I got 100 followers, so I made it to the popular page. Right? I have this many likes. Like, we're giving self-value through likes, right? Through, what do you do on Twitter, you? What do you do? Our president does it a lot. You retweet, right? You retweet. Yeah, like I did. You retweet stuff, right? You retweet stuff. So, we give self-worth through that, through numbers, and we have self-esteem. Our, self-esteem is also affected by that. Today, amongst young people, when it comes to driving, the number one cause for death is texting and driving. It's no longer drinking and driving. That's scary stuff. They actually have to tell you, which is I find kind of ironic. Like, they'll tell you there's a text on the those boards just saying don't text and drive. I mean, what if you're looking and reading that? That's also a problem.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
That. So the second leading cause. So among all American college students, to my knowledge, the number one cause of death is car-related accidents.
Okay.
And number 2 is suicide.
Suicide. Number 2 is suicide. And then again, it goes back to how this is related to suicide.
Suicide is the third leading cause of death for people between the ages of 10 and 16 in the U.S.
So there you go. 10 and 16.
Like, we're talking about 10-year-olds. So, like, they're all related.
They're all related. And it really is related, of how your self-esteem and self-worth comes about. Another thing is a lot of times, it affects us when we grow up. A lot of times, like when I'm driving, sometimes, may Allah forgive me, I'm texting, listening to something, the radio, and maybe talking on the phone on Bluetooth. And I'm driving. So a lot of times we think it's multitasking. Hey, I could do a bunch of things at once. But what happens later on is that when you have to focus on an individual assignment, on an individual item, you're not able to do so. So if it's group work, you're not able to do so. If it's focused on this one subject, I'm not able to do so. Why? Because I'm so busy in multitasking. So these are real problems that we face. There's something called phantom vibration syndrome, which is really funny when I read about it. Phantom vibration syndrome. It's where the nervous system, not only is your brain rewired, your nervous system can also be rewired with excessive usage. So it's people who say it happens to them once or twice a week where they're like, oh, my phone is vibrating. And they don't even have their phone with them. They're so psychologically connected to their phone. They're like, oh, hey, what happened, man? Oh, my phone. But you left your phone at home. That's crazy. That's crazy, right? So wired within this. So another thing is it makes you very selfish. If you're extremely on social media, it makes you very unsociable and selfish. The Prophet said in one hadith we were talking about this morning that al-mu'minu ma'lafun. The Muslim is sociable. And there is no good in the one who is not sociable, nor can he approach people, nor people approach him. Right? The mu'min is sociable, meaning you are able to communicate with others necessarily. Right? Talk to other people. So it makes us selfish because every time we go on that screen, we post all those fake moments, people give us likes, and we get that dopamine, that happy feeling, right? And then we go back to it, we want to get more happy feeling. And what do you do on social media? What do I mean by it makes you selfish? When you go on social media, do you post your life experiences or other people's life experiences? Your life experiences. 80% of what we post is our life experiences. And again, it's not the bad life experiences, it's the so-called good life experiences. So it's all about Me. I did this and I did this. I'm so great. I'm in a big bad wolf. That's what it's all about. And what that makes you is very selfish. So when we grow up, we're not able to, tend to families. We're not able to, we become very, very sensitive, right? Because it's always been about me. And now if somebody says, Abdullah, man, like, you got to shut your mouth. That's some nonsense. You said shut up to me? You told me to shut up? I'm not going to talk to you. Because 80% of my life I was living on, nobody told me that. The most they could do is just not like, that's it. So with all of that there, then another problem with I see with young brothers and sisters is games, man. That stuff is crazy, right? Assassin's Creed, Halo, God of War, right? And it's a multifaceted problem because parents have to understand, our immigrant parents especially, they have to understand that there's game ratings, okay? And majority of what games we have, they're not even rated, they're R-rated. For adults, 17 plus, it says 17 plus rather, right? And that's what, I'm not going to ask, but who has San Andreas? You don't have to raise your hand. I just see your eyes are twitching. I see eyes are twitching. All right, some eyes are twitching, so you guys have San Andreas. San Andreas is 17 plus.
It's very...
You can hire people for services, kill them, give them money, kill them, and then take the money back. That's some crazy stuff. And our children are playing that, right? And this is really, really scary stuff. So games. Beyond that, what I want to talk about, last thing, is social media, music. Music is social media, okay? I forget his name. There is a scientist who did this, a test. What he did is he took about 100 different songs, okay? From old school, you're talking about Teddy Pendergrass, Aretha Franklin. You guys don't know those names, do you? Marvin Gaye, right? All those classics. Don't ask me how I know, by the way. Astaghfirullah. Don't ask questions. Okay? He said I read a lot. Well, read lyrics. Yeah, back in the day, AZ lyrics. So he took songs from different genres. So rock, country, McGraw-Hill, whoever you want, Britney and Nicki and Ariana and everybody, and put up Eminem, everybody. He put them according to their word usage, so their vocabulary. Okay. The title of this article, of this research, was "Music Makes You Dumber." Okay. Now, I'm serious. What grade are you in? Sixth. Okay. Now look at it. You're gonna feel smart about this. Now listen. He plugged in all these different artists and all their lyrics into this, mechanism where it kind of grades you on your vocabulary usage as to what grade you're in. Okay? What do you think is the average grade level of a rapper or singer? What do you think it is?
First grade.
Third grade. And not everybody's in third grade, by the way. Okay, they haven't made it that far yet. They're usually first, second, third. Mariah Carey, I think, almost made it to like 3.4 or something. That's some scary stuff. So when you're listening to that, you're just beating your head. That's what you're doing. You're literally beating the intelligence out of your head. Because it's making you dumber. It's making me dumber. Right? Listen to Silento's lyrics. I'm going to be open with you guys. What does he say? Watch me whip, watch me nay-nay. First of all, those don't make sense. Though they hold no linguistic value. What is whip and nay-nay? Right? You get my point? But you're like, man, this is so cool. That's not cool. That's being a fool. Right? So give value to yourself. Right? Give value to yourself. So with that, the positive usage is that, yes, through technology, you can do a lot of khair. Okay? I'm not saying advocating anything, but, for example, you talk about these uprisings that toppled empires. That came from technology. Meaning, if you and I utilize technology for good, you can do a lot of good. But it depends on how we utilize technology in our youth that will, again, give either progress to our lives or no. So you have the ability to go on Google and do a lot of good research. Read a lot, right? You have the ability to reach out to people. You have what you could do webinars and learn from people. So there's a lot of good in it, but it goes back to control and using it for the positive. All right. So these are your foundations. You have to perfect, or you have to do pretty well in your first, second, third grade elementary years. How well you do in your elementary years will materialize and show in your middle school years. How well you do in middle school will affect how well you do in high school, and how well you do in high school will affect how well you do in the rest of your life, right? And don't get caught up in this. You guys ever heard of this story? It's called mango juice. Everybody that you meet, all your friends and all my friends that we have on social media, it's really fake, okay? So one of the scholars here, he mentioned this really funny story about how people are so deceptive. He said there was this boy chatting with this girl, and it's about all the happy moments. So you're taking all your good selfies, what is that option? It's like this. When you're taking a photo, it's like a plain face and then like a makeup face. What is that called? Filter? No, but what does it do? It's like it smudges all your imperfections and makes you look like you have makeup on. Guys do it a lot. I don't know why. Right? So it makes you look like you have makeup on. And so basically when you take a picture, if you have any marks on your face, everything is gone. And you look like this. It does something. So it's on everybody's phone. So, you're taking that perfect selfie with the perfect lighting. The hair is here, the wind is blowing through your hair, and mashallah, you're looking like Brad Pitt out there. So you're taking all these pictures, and she's, the Miss Universe out there. But in reality, that's not that's not the truth. So, this boy and this girl, they were talking and, talking about getting together. So, they say, hey, we got to take it to the next level. Okay, we've been chit-chatting, now we got to meet. Okay, we got to do it. Let's meet up. So I said, okay, where? So they said, okay, that juice stand on 10th Street? Okay, but how will I know? So the girl said, how will I know it's you? Because we haven't met before. And he said, well, I'll hold a mango juice. I bought a glass of mango juice. Okay, mango juice. And he said, well, how will I know it's you? So-and-so, my beloved. And she says, I'll wear a polka dot dress. Okay? A polka dot dress. So, okay. So he goes to the mango juice. He's dressed up and he's looking nice. He has his Old Spice and Allah knows what on, and his curry leaves. And he goes there and he goes to the front and he's excited. He got the money and to throw down and spit his game, and he's there. And he says, do you have mango juice? And he said, we just ran out. We don't have mango. And oh my God, it's like, the trumpet has been blown. It's Qiyamah already. What? No mango juice. Come on, please, some mango juice. There has to be something. And he goes, sorry, sir, we don't have mango. And he's like, oh my God, what do I do? What do I do? He's like, do you have orange juice that looks like mango juice? They're like, no, we just have lemonade. He's like, no, I need mango juice. They have food coloring? No, I just need mango juice. Okay, just give me the lemonade. That's my best shot at it. Okay, so now he's standing there, sad because things are not going according to plan, and he's sitting there with the lemonade. And time he's waiting, and this girl walks in. Because I told you, when you're on social media, you're living in a surreal life. It's unrealistic. So he's sitting there with his lemonade, unrealistic, and this girl walks in. And he sees the polka dot dress, and he's like, Alhamdulillah. He takes the lemonade and he goes, Alhamdulillah. You guys get it? When he saw her, he was happy he had the lemonade and not the mango juice. So she didn't recognize him. When he saw her, he wasn't pleased. He didn't like her anymore, right? That's just the reality of it, right? So now he was like, Alhamdulillah, I have the lemonade, right? That's a problem, right? And it goes vice versa, you know, vice versa, boys to girls, girls to boys. It happens, right? So it's very unrealistic. It's a very unrealistic life, right? So live life, talk to people, conversate with people, right? Be out there, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. You know, give us benefit, whatever is good from Allah and His Rasul, and whatever things that shouldn't have been said or were said is from myself. And shaitan, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive me. Ameen. Jazakumullah khair for being a wonderful audience.